Aloha, mi amigos.
Hello.
What's up,
I
everybody?
was sitting over here playing the
Day and all that
drums
stuff.
during that. I
What,
was playing the drums during that.
would you?
Yeah. I was hoping you guys couldn't hear it.
I couldn't hear it.
Good.
For
What?
some reason, I got that one muted, but the post credit I keep forgetting to mute us. But that's all right. We have fun anyways, right? Anyhow, what are we doing? What are we doing tonight? We got to talk. We got to talk about upcoming stuff.
We have
what do you got
tacos.
coming up. Did
Talking
tacos?
about tacos.
Tacos
Just
already.
tacos. Yeah.
Just tacos.
Tacos tonight.
So
Yeah.
I'm quite sure there's quite a bit going on between everybody in the next couple of weeks because you're going to be
I got
gone
nothing
next
going.
month.
I'll be gone next month. That's so next month. I mean, 3 weeks from now, I'll be in the air on the way to England. So,
Cool.
You'll
so
have your little stick figure ready.
I won't be here.
So
We'll have your little stick
Ken's
figure
got
ready.
something coming up, don't you?
Oh my God, I do. I'm 2 weeks. I'm going down to the Pythian Castle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Did you guys even know that?
I
I
did.
vaguely recall something about it.
I don't know. Anyway,
Huh.
I,
Nobody told me anything.
I'm going with a PTF group, so I'll get to see KD Stafford and KT Stafford.
Nice.
So because they're running the show now for a PTF, so I'll be down there for 30th, I think it is, and then
Yeah. I'll be
I
here.
don't know what else is going on. I already forgot. Let's see.
Look,
I'll
all my
look.
brain
Well,
power.
the next show we got going is in July or August.
Yes.
We have
all gonna
the
be
Nolos Pelicon, and then we're all going to be together for on the 8th for Bordertown Strange, and then we're
Bordertown, be there. Make
well,
a plan.
two
Be
of
there.
us is going to be there in GoblinCon. I don't know if Pam still hasn't decided yet, but if she does, she'll be there with us.
I want to
And
go. I
then
do want to go. I just
I'll be there in spirit.
in
My daughter.
September it's Central Paranormal, the Central
Central Kansas.
Paracon.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
and that's it.
we have Oz Fair,
I was
and then we
first coming
have
up.
A.M.O.K. I mean, not
What?
A.M.O.K.
A.M.O.K.
Arkansas
You
Paranormal.
might as well.
Yeah.
They just called it the
It's called
A.M.O.K. Paracon. It's
I think Rhonda would
And
mind.
Arkansas
You know.
Paranormal Expo. ADE. That's my favorite.
And we've got
Oh.
Kansas UFO Days
Mike-
coming up. the
My
last
connection is
week.
going
Oh.
weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Am I free?
Oh, finally the chat's working.
Oh, good deal.
It's been working.
You're not frozen,
It
Ken.
wasn't working
No.
for me.
What? Oh,
Yeah,
but
Ken,
there.
you're fine. Is it frozen for us?
You're all frozen. Adrian just
I'm not
moved. Now
frozen.
you guys moved. Well,
It's you.
I'm moving around, but you guys are all kind
That's you then.
of.
Yeah. It's all you.
I think
We're
it is
fine.
because
Oh,
little thing keeps
Yeah.
saying, "Oops, lost connection, reconnecting."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
you.
That's definitely you.
So I don't know. I guess it's
You're more amok than we are.
yep.
pretty
Yeah.
weird. Oh,
But
so
you can hear
June,
it. June. Yeah, that's
June,
I will be here.
Jim.
Haunted America conference. I'm going to that one.
Ooh, fun.
I think that's the one you're
Oh,
talking
that's the
about.
end
Sal.
of June. Yep, the
Yep,
end
the
of
end
June.
of June, and then my daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter are coming in the 22nd, so a week from now. So I get to see them. We're gonna have a
Nice.
big family
Yeah.
barbecue. So it'll be fun. I think she's what 5 months,
Sounds
going on
fun.
5 months old now.
Did you really?
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Wow.
December 19th. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So and Shaw, thank you for filling in everything else because I kept disappearing.
No problem.
We saw
No
you.
problem.
Well, it's just we're just M tonight, or not total A.M.O.K. So anyway, but I'm doing great, guys. How about you?
Ish.
Oh,
Ish.
you know me.
Just ish.
Well-
Okay.
Well, I've been saying mostly okay. I'm mostly okay.
How many Mondays
okay.
have you had?
Mostly okay.
Just
mean-
computer glitches. Beyond that, we're good, I think. Today, I was telling these guys before we came on, today is 8 months since I broke my leg.
That's what I
Oh
kind
my
of heard.
god,
yeah.
time is flying.
Easy.
That is crazy. And you doing better?
Yes, I am doing better. Not 100%, but in PT today, I was toddling, not really walking, but toddling between the parallel bars.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
Oh,
we only got we did a half
Yeah, 2 months.
marathon that we do at Border Town, so you got to be ready for that.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 2 months. I got to be ready. I'm going to
Definitely.
get right down to the wire.
Electric roller skates. There you go.
All right, what do we got tonight? What's tonight? What's more?
We
What's
have
more like?
people
We have
coming in.
Artemaeus and Tillie.
Yes,
Yes.
very excited.
So,
Yes.
are we going to say anything about them, or just going to say their names and bring them on? We can just say their names and bring them on.
Say their
What do you
names and
think?
bring them on.
They are
Good chat
great
with them.
people. You're going to love the show tonight.
Yes.
and
Yes.
They're going to
It's
talk to us
Artemaeus.
about
Absolutely adore
stuff,
them.
There's Tillie.
all sorts of
And
great
everybody's going to
stuff
be
they're
where
gonna
they're
talk
supposed to be.
about.
I clicked the button, Tillie.
Uh-oh.
This is not my fault.
Uh-oh, we missed one.
It's Ken's computer's fault.
All his fault.
Shaw,
Hi.
Shaw, it could
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us. We are happy to be here. It is fantastic to see you all again. How are
be doing great.
I
Great.
like that.
you?
We had to have you on because back when we had Artemaeus on, you were in the background and you were doing all the typing and stuff like that and messing things up. So it's like we had to have you on the show.
Messing
you can
things up.
So you can
We
mess
just-
up the whole world.
We just
That's
kept
right.
every once in a while we would see you go, hi.
Yep.
Just with your
I
finger,
have-
hi.
I have delivered on my end of the bargain and brought the Agent of Chaos. Agent of Chaos has entered the chat.
Hey, the prettiest one you'd ever did see. Thank you very much.
I think the term was, what was wrong with that guy? So what's wrong with that guy? I don't know.
Yeah.
Many things.
Well, I am proud, if nothing else, that I gave you a reading that seemed to be, well, rather accurate, at least compared to anyone else you've allegedly
Pretty
ever
darn close,
had.
pretty darn
So
close, yeah.
I earned my spot here, I suppose.
Sure.
Well, at least you earned extra kudos with Adrian.
Yeah,
Sure.
well, those people. There's so many people try to read me and they're way off.
Mhm.
So you're a moron than I'm not calling you a moron. You were more on than
On
most people.
target. Hmm.
On target. That'll work.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
Your next reading is going to suck, Adrian.
Curses on you, on your cow, on your family.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right, keep
I'm
that
always-
cow out of the backyard.
I'm just happy that they don't start screaming when they start poking around the brain. So yeah, we're good.
No. What would you guys like to chat about tonight?
What have you
I don't
been
know.
up
It's your
to?
I'm gonna
show.
let them take the stage. It's your show.
It's our
Oh,
show.
we need to delve into Tillie and her gifts. So, Tillie, why don't you start from the beginning and tell us a little bit about how you became Tillie?
Oh,
Yeah, how
goodness.
did you become Tillie?
Oh, sure. Well, it all starts before I even arrived here in this body. I do seem to have memories of before I was here. And I liked to poke around Earth before I got here. I was quite excited to get here. I found a family that I seemed to wanted to have incarnated into. And I was just wafting around my grandmother's house, inhabiting some of the objects. Now I'm here and with all of you, and actually I'm writing a book called Enchanted Objects, and that is due for publication any day now. My beautiful,
Oh, excellent.
kind publisher, Tim Swartz from Ancient Aliens and Zontar Press, he's got the manuscript, and we're just waiting for it to hit the shelf.
That's
Awesome.
exciting.
Congratulations.
That is
Yeah,
exciting.
congrats.
But yeah, I gotta know. So you got to pick your family.
Yes, that is the memory that I seem to have. But again, everyone, I could be nuts. There could be something loose in my head. So please always use your own intuition on anything and everything I have to say.
I like that. I could be nuts. I know I'm
So-
nuts, but I know that I wouldn't have picked my family.
Oh,
So
would've picked mine.
enchanted
I'd have picked
objects.
a richer family, I think. Somebody
That's life on the easy button. Come on now.
I was going to say,
Oh, right.
maybe
challenge,
Adrian
right?
picked him to learn a lesson, but maybe they picked you to learn a lesson.
Oh yeah. I feel like I did something wrong.
So Ken, you were
You feel
saying
like
There's a
enchanted
something
object.
wrong.
therapist
Oh
for
my
that.
God.
Yeah.
So you mentioned
That's all right.
the book Enchanted Objects, but
Yes.
you also mentioned that you kind of knew that you found your family that you wanted to join before you were born, but you were kind of messing around in your grandma's house, was it, or their family's house,
My grandma's house.
in different objects. So are those stories in your book?
They are.
Ooh, that sounds even enchanting. Oh, go ahead.
Mhm. You know, I hear a lot of people talking about only inhabiting objects when they're on an ayahuasca trip and they're trapped in some kind of self-contained hell, for example, and their worst nightmare is to be an inanimate object. And so part of what I wanted to do with Enchanted Objects was to tell the story from a completely different lens about being a spirit inhabiting some of the objects that here, in this human realm, we all encounter each and every day, and then build on the occult sciences from there, including the brand new cutting edge sciences that I'm consistently involved with behind the scenes. I mean, I have to keep a little mystery. I don't talk about everything that I do and
Yeah.
know.
That's okay. So would genies be included in like an enchanted object? Would that be like you got the lamp? Would that be something like you were talking about? Oh, come on,
Absolutely.
Adrian, this way. He's like, what?
Yes, but I like your question so much because it can be viewed from a few different angles. So
Okay.
some people might say that the jinn or the genie itself is an enchanted object because it's so closely tied into that lamp or to that ring or to that other type of object. But for me, I see it as twofold. We've got the jinn itself, which is a type of enchanted object, as we all are. When we are incarnate, we are embodying something, right? So I've got this meat suit, you've got yours, the jinn have theirs. And then sometimes some of us might choose to take on a secondary skin, which would then be that object that we may choose to inhabit, such as the lamp. So therefore, you've got the jinn with its body of ether or aether or essence, and then that can be laid into the fabric or the metal, you could say, of the lamp itself, and then that creates a compound enchanted object. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
I hope so.
In other words, it's not his home. He's not living inside of it. It could be that he's part of it.
It's both,
Of the lamp.
actually.
Okay.
I saw
Yeah.
a dream of Jeannie. She had a little couch in the bottle and everything. I know how it works.
Yeah, it was comfortable looking. Yeah, quiet.
It was. It was. Well, in my experience, from what I remember from inhabiting objects, I mean, the couch or the daybed would have been so much cozier, but I remember actually inhabiting the fiber of the materials, becoming one with the material itself.
Okay. So does that possibility continue now even? Can you extricate yourself and actually put yourself into an object anymore, or is that a one-time type deal?
Well, in my understanding and experience, I would need to have a much less dense meat suit than what I've got right now, but y'all are stuck with me for a while.
Okay.
But
well,
isn't that kind of like you're kind of like doing like a spiritual version of, what do they call it when you leave your body? Astral projection, kind of
Astral
like that, but-
projecting.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes,
So-
except when I remember being able to inhabit objects, I was essentially pure essence.
Yeah. You didn't have
Um,
a form.
okay.
Yeah.
Correct. So I was able to merge with items at will. So, okay, here's an example. You guys know how on all of the ghost shows, corny or not, you can see sometimes a mist moving in and out of someone's body or in and out of objects. That's what it's like.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just the energy part of it, basically.
So when you're incorporated into an object, were you able to like not talk to, but interact?
Communicate.
Yeah,
Communicate.
communicate with things around you.
With items, yes, but it's not quite like communication the way that you and I are doing right now. It was more like I could feel and know the essence, the memories, the materials, the temperaments of the items themselves. But there was no speaking or telepathy, anything of that nature. So essentially, I would move near an object, or I would look at an object, think about it, or inhabit it. And by that way, I would know everything about that object from the inside out. Does that make sense?
That does. And the reason that I was asking was, you have like poltergeist activity that maybe seem to be focused around an object.
Yes.
So I was wondering if you would be on the opposite end of that in that situation.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, that'd be kind of interesting. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Poltergeist activity is that chick over there who's getting all those hormones. It's a whole bunch of haunted objects that's flipping out.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. And so my new book, Enchanted Objects, explores inhabited objects from more of that point of view. I share my experiences from the other side of the veil, and then I talk about some of the casework that I have done here incarnate with the Catholic Church, outside of the Catholic Church, and I share from the pre-incarnate view, and then, of course, the esoteric exorcist point of view, and I try to bridge that with modern and ancient science, folklore, and then true tales from my own casework.
That's fascinating. You're going to have to let us know as soon as it's published. And
Yeah,
ready.
it sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
So
with your multidisciplinary,
go ahead.
so you have called yourself a multidisciplinary student. How do they kind of inform your work? What kind of subjects are you currently diving into to get those informing your work?
Your microphone sounds really muffled to me, and I'm very sorry, but I couldn't hear you properly. I'm sure it was a fabulous question, but I couldn't hear Jack you said.
It was a horrible question and didn't want
it
to
was
hear
a
me
good
at all. No, I'm
question.
just kidding.
She said that she heard that you're a multidisciplinary and type of studier student, and so she wanted to know what you are studying and how that's informing your writing, basically.
Thank you, honey.
Whatever.
Okay, yes. Part of the time, I do spend time in laboratories working with neurologists, genetic specialists, fancy people with fancy titles. And then the other half of the time, I'm working with those people and material sciences, so paranormal scientists. And we talk about things like, for example, how certain metals or materials like salt or quartz interact with our world, and then the non-human world and the spirit world, and then where everything comes together. I don't remember all of the official names because my brain is fried. I was making perfumes all day today, and it's a little bit harder, perhaps, than
so you
what
might be a
some
little high
people
right
may.
now. You can say it. That's okay.
What was that for me?
I said you might be a little high right now. It's okay. It happens.
Oh, yeah, basically. So, a day of mixing perfumes and colognes and getting everything just right. So I apologize, but that's the gist of it. I just don't remember all the fancy names right now for all of the different sciences. But there's a lot of paranormal science, material sciences, piezoelectric sciences. Yeah.
Physics and electrical or physical engineering. I mean, there's a lot that goes
Thank
into
you.
it.
Quantum.
Quantum. Yeah, I mean, there are explanations for all of these things. We just don't know all of them yet. So, like as you were talking about how you don't have the ability to bounce out of your meat suit because it's such a dense incarnation, and it reminded me of a podcast I was listening to earlier today. talking about why dry ice can be so dangerous when it's at when you melt it, when it's at room temperature, because what ends up happening, because it's carbon dioxide, frozen carbon dioxide, and when the temperature changes, it goes from that frozen block, which is, you know, harmless unless you touch it with your bare hands, to something that will suck every bit of oxygen out of the environment and kill you instantly. So when it changes shape like that, now you have a completely different thing. It goes from a very dense thing to a gaseous state, a very not dense thing. So your meat suit is that way. You can't communicate or do certain things outside of that, because that would be like expecting dry ice to melt at the temperature that it's frozen. It won't change state unless the environment around it changes. So when you change the environment, then, you know, you won't be in your meat suit. We call that death, but, you know, who knows what's on the other side of it.
Thank you. Yes. And then I work with a lot of neuroscientists these days because my brain waves show in live recordings while, you know, speaking, my eyes open, ears open, everything, that my brain operates in delta, alpha, and theta brain waves with no or very little beta unless I'm stressed. And so that means I have a constant bridge between my conscious mind and my subconscious mind that connects me from what we're coming to understand to what you guys might call the spirit world. So I'm literally half here and half not at all times. And I live in a state of, you could say, quote unquote, enlightenment or nirvana, according to the neuroscientists, that otherwise lifelong meditators are always trying to accomplish. But I was just born this way with a different brain structure. And so that's a big part of what I do. And then, you know, there are other differences that come with it that seem to allow me to see, hear, and experience lots of non-human peoples, ghosts, etc., just in the atmosphere around me. And so my life is basically a giant DMT trip, but, you know, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm really loving this lifetime, and I'm thrilled to be able to share that with all of you. I feel like it's such an honor to be here. So.
That's pretty cool.
I would like to say something more to that, though. You just reminded me, talking about how when people are on ayahuasca, or sometimes when they have those DMT trips, how they talk about inhabiting an inanimate object as being a wholly terrifying experience. And that actually speaks directly to something that we may or may not have talked about when I was on the show the last time, talking about ego and how that plays into what your experience with the paranormal will be. But usually people who are tripping, average person with high ego, and they inhabit an inanimate object, will panic, because to be vulnerable in that way, not be able to move, to be paralyzed, is something that triggers the lizard brain to go, this is not a good situation to be in. So that's not comfortable, you know, and that's the ego, the lizard brain, all talking at the same time, firing on all cylinders, that's saying, warning, warning. But for somebody that doesn't have very much ego or very much beta brainwave state, like Tillie, she doesn't really experience that. And we can also say hand in hand goes the fact that her survival instinct is absolutely terrible. But on the same token, she can inhabit a cuckoo clock or, you know, a rock and be completely happy because she's just one with the environment, essentially. So that would be one major difference between maybe somebody like me with, you know, the average Joe brain, and someone like her with that very low ego content, almost no beta brainwave really to speak of, which is where most of us, most of the time, are operating, unless we're meditating successfully or we're sleeping. So.
Correct. Yes. And so it's to the point with my brainwave situation and my horrible natural social skills when it comes to interacting with high ego content people. I work now with a specialist team of neuroscientists who have me now understanding where higher ego content people are coming from. And now I'm able to bridge that gap. And it's just been such a fascinating journey. And to be honest, if anyone wonders what it's like to be me or someone like me, it's very boring. It's very peaceful inside. And so I like to feed myself stimuli almost constantly, because it allows me to philosophize and to think, because otherwise it's very empty in my head. I am literally an airhead. I will totally admit it.
Which is exactly what I thought when I met her, and that was the thing that bothered me, because I was Mr. Ego, so I was like, man, this is boring. I don't know what's going on here.
So you kind of alluded to a few minutes ago, Artemaeus, that that she can still get into objects and stuff. We'll go back to that concept. Is that
I was gonna say I misspoke a little bit.
Did I misunderstand that?
No, I don't think you misunderstood. I probably misspoke in the sense that before she came here to be able to inhabit, multiple objects. She can't do that currently, and that's again because inhabiting that very dense body that she has, right, a meat suit, is, as I alluded to, kind of like, frozen carbon dioxide. It's frozen, and unless the environment changes,
turns to gas, you put water in it, turns to smoke.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, see, now that you're here in the corporeal form, and you can't go venture out and stuff like that, you've got these abilities. Now, can you read people? Do you read I don't know how to put it really. How do you see things? Do you see things like when you're like, say you're looking at me or you're looking at Shauna? Do vision just come to you, or is it just a thought, like an intuition kind of thing, or what?
Every situation, every encounter is different. For some people, I get literally nothing because they're so shut down, or they might have a lot of protective sigils around them, or they're just so closed down to the thought of anyone tapping into their energy that there is no, you could say, permission granted. And so I won't get anything, even if I attempt to tap into someone. For lots of people, though, it all just varies. Sometimes I'm meant to get information about people. Sometimes I'm not. I take it case by case. So, for example, there's a good friend of mine who runs another show, and she and I, we're not quite as close anymore just because we're so freaking busy. But we were talking for a while, and I was getting visions and flashes of her life and of her heart's desire, her true temperament. And I was picking up what you guys would call her prayers. And there was one specific prayer that she had that was given to me that I felt called to fulfill. And this is a role that I play sometimes, just depending on whether or not I feel like it, the karma that seems to balance out. There are lots of factors to it. Regardless, in this case, she had this deep-held heart prayer. She wanted a witch doll, and it had something to do deeply with her mother, and she was always doing and giving for other people, and she really just wanted this doll. And this was last year when I was publishing my first Tales from the Rift book, and she had helped me promote it. And she's always been very sweet, very gracious to me, and just on top of herself, so polite by my standard, and I really love her and I respect her. So when I was talking to her the one day, I had access of this prayer given to me, and I don't request these things typically, they just happen. And I realized, oh, okay, so if I do this thing and I find her this type of doll, it's going to make her extremely happy as a surprise, and it's also going to unlock these other karmic timelines for me and for her, and so I'm going to do that. And I could tell based on what I was seeing in the visions that I was getting, the auditory prayers I was hearing, her thoughts and whatnot, I knew that it was welcome. I knew that there was permission granted, so I went ahead and I did it. Of course, I sent it to her, and I blessed the doll so that it would be a protective, enchanted object on its own, just for her. And it would take on her energy and protect her house and whatnot as she displayed it, interacted with it, fed it, that type of thing. And everything unfolded just as I knew it would. And she's gone on public record talking about how it was extremely specific. There was no way I could have known about it. She's not told anyone about that. And she's extremely grateful. She'll post pictures sometimes on the Book of Faces, as Shaw likes to say, showing off her beautiful witch doll. And I'm just here to be a part of people's journeys, however they'd like to have me, good, bad, ugly, pretty, or otherwise. I am whatever you dream me to be.
So are you actually communicating with brain waves of an individual or their spirit, or is that almost the same thing?
That's a fantastic
Does that
question.
make sense?
Yes. Okay. My understanding is that there is a certain percentage of, you could say, soul essence
Okay.
that comes through in each incarnation. And the more soul essence you have, the more it's reflected in your brain waves. So the purer your brain waves are, the more connected you are to the soul essence. And then the more beta you have, the more you've come here to really be immersed in whatever story this is that you wanted to live here incarnate. And I'm not saying that either is good or bad, or I'm not judging. I
It's
don't,
just the way it is.
yes, I don't believe in good or evil. I just believe in goal, agenda, action, and then individual karma. And of course, lots of people have seen me as a villain. Some people see me as their little angel. It really just depends on someone's point of view. So that being said, um, for me, I don't know if I'm connecting solely with someone's brainwaves and or their soul essence. All I know is that I get these drops I get these drops about people, and then I always have the responsibility on my heart and my shoulders to then try to choose as kindly and wisely as I can, everything given, what I'm going to do with that information next.
Okay.
Does that
So,
help?
yeah, it does. So soul essence is really almost equivalent to spirit in this case.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
as opposed to brainwaves. So they're linked, but they're not exactly the same thing.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So when
All
you, I talk to, I got no ability. And as I get older, I get less and less abilities. But when I talk to these people that have this extrasensory perception, however you want to put it, yeah, a lot of people talk about having spirit guides and stuff like that. So do you have that, or is it all you? You're just taking in this energy and reading the energy that you're picking up on.
I love that question. I don't have spirit guides in the way that it's typically thought of here. I get the random flashes and drops of information, but I live in a very enchanted house, and I live a very enchanted life. So I constantly have non-human beings and peoples around me, chittering at me, appearing wherever, and they're in almost constant communication with me because they're fascinated with my journey here. And then aside from that, there is you could say, psychic ability. I'm not sure exactly how to phrase this though, because I don't consider myself a psychic. I was just born this way. You know what I mean? So
Well,
I
not
don't.
psychic. You're not telling people's future or anything like that.
I
Right?
do sometimes actually, and that's where people tend to get afraid. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Um, I do sometimes get those, you could say, psychic flashes, but sometimes it might just be that with my low ego content, my low emotional content, maybe I am just tapping into their brainwave state where they're at that time. Sometimes, well, a lot of time actually, there are non-human beings, non-human people that whisper in my ear and tell me and or show me things about the people that I am interacting with or considering, things of that nature. And that helps to guide my journey a lot. And then sometimes too, there are ancestors, human ancestors that have appeared to me to speak on behalf of that other person's journey to play a key role. But I don't even technically know, I should say, that those are human ancestors. They're presenting as such, but I'm very familiar with the trickster spirit, the trickster element, and so it could be anyone just needing to play a convincing enough role to pretend to be that ancestor and to fill in that missing puzzle piece. So this is what I mean when I say I don't have all the answers, and I never pretend that I do. I probably don't
Good,
even have
good.
10%, and I love that mystery.
Yeah, I like that because I always tell people when they talk about what kind of spirit is there and all that. talking as a ghost hunter with no abilities. I said, even if I got a name, I wouldn't trust that name. I don't trust the spirit. And,
To be,
and so,
Mhm.
but
I
I mean, I can't because I can't tell what their intentions are. So,
but see, I think that skepticism is part of your superpower. And I think that we need more of it, if I'm completely honest. I'll just leave it at that. But I think that you're plenty talented. I think it's just in a different way. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
just
I'll
like you
keep
were saying,
that.
earlier, it's not good or bad. It just is. Everybody is a set of skills and a set of weaknesses, and that interacts with other people who have different skills and different weaknesses, and that's just all part of the game, the story.
I frustrate the hell out of people.
Well, and the object is to learn how to use those talents, whatever they are, to basically to survive and help others, I think.
Yeah, sure. That's one thing. There are some people who are quite literally just agents of chaos, just here to dole out the maybe consequences or karma, or to create the situation for them to learn from, as you said earlier. So, I mean, I think that is one story of being here to learn, to grow, to be better to other people. We would not have that though without the people who do quite the opposite. By contrast, so yeah.
So when you perceive through conversations with other, and I'm just going to say entities, for lack of a better word, do you also perceive moods in all of these beings that you communicate with?
Moods? Is that what you said?
Yeah, do they have moods? Not moos, but yes, mood does.
Yes. Okay.
MOOD.
Some of them do. It really depends on who I'm dealing with. So, for example, the traditional Fae people that we're accustomed to talking about here, they tend to have, depending on the type of group of the Fae that we're talking about, some of them have even higher ego content, even higher emotional content than human beings. And so, therefore, they can be extremely moody by comparison. Same with some of the elementals that I've met. And then there are other ones who have even less ego content and even less emotional content than I do. And some of them will choose to interact with me, putting on some kind of show that is based in a seed of emotional truth based on the message that they want to give to me. But then other times, they or another type of them will interact in a very calm, flat way. And it really just depends on the person. It's all case by case. So, for example, Artemaeus had a very close encounter with someone that we made a deal with, not to name, not to shame, not to blame. It was a terrifying experience for him. But when this person came and spoke to me, we had a brilliant conversation. We spoke for hours at the kitchen table. We had a great time. He was very chill with me and taught me a lot. And completely opposite ends of the spectrum, but it was the same exact person. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have anything to add, Honey Bunch?
I do, actually, yeah. So mood is tied, as you kind of alluded to, I think, directly to the ego content. How much ego do you have, or how little ego do you have? And for me, the ego is a type of program. It's one level of program. We have a program that runs all of our physical processes, that keeps our heart beating, that keeps our temperature regulated and blood flowing, all that good stuff. And then you have another program which operates your consciousness, I guess, on some level here, what you're perceiving. And moods are associated with the higher ego, because if you do not have the ego, then you are either an animal, which is just input, output. I'm hungry, I'm horny, I'm sleepy, I'm, one of those things, and I'm going to do something to rectify that. There is no other, right. If that's a mood, then that's that's as simple as it gets. But if you strip even that away, if you do not have any of those needs, you are just quite literally a pair of eyeballs floating in the ether. You do not have moods. You just are. It is pure state of being, pure consciousness, I guess you could say. So
Okay.
that's what some people have called, the pure godlike state, where there is no anything. It just is.
It is everything and nothing at the same time.
Sure. So yeah, there are different levels depending on which entity you're talking about, human or non-human, whether or not they have those programs running for physical needs in a very dense body, or they don't, and they just have the ego content, high or no ego content. But yeah, no ego means no mood.
Yes, and then too, this gets into the old fairy lore about how fairies and other types of non-human peoples are very jealous of human beings because human beings have quote-unquote souls. In my understanding, this is a misrepresentation of it. A lot of the non-human peoples that I have met over my lifetime, and even that I still work with today, they are fascinated by and jealous of, envious, you could say, of human beings because of the high ego content that human beings have. Because clinically speaking, the ego is where the self story lives. And when you have that type of separation from the empty void of the monad, you could say, the God consciousness, you've got your own story that you're living out that you're kind of being lost in. And that is a fulfilling and deep experience that a lot of the non-human peoples, at least that I've known and met, that they don't have because they can be everything or nothing with their low or no ego content. And so this is where also the trickster element comes from, because they can switch out those masks at any point in time, and it's perfectly natural to them most of the time because they don't have that fixed ego content like a human being does. So it's kind of like personality makeup in a way, or a personality cosmetic, you could say. But they don't have that true ego essence the way that human beings do. And it's just, in my understanding and experience, it's just gotten kind of twisted over time. And it causes a lot of miscommunication between human beings and other types of peoples, because human beings, a lot of human beings now will say that they are, quote unquote, God's chosen, they're better than the non-human peoples, etc., when at least for me, I don't see it that way. I just see every journey as being beautiful and unique in its own way. And I think that we could all really learn from each other if we could talk and maybe work around at least, some of that ego judgment a little bit on either side, because a lot of the non-human peoples that I've met, they don't like human beings. They might be envious of them in a way, but they also don't like human beings because they're considered to be very, very rude, very unkind, very entitled, violent. You know what I mean? But then at the same time, yeah, and selfish. And there's that still jealousy because the human beings are being lost in that ego story, and it must be a thrilling experience in a way to have all of that ego content and to be fully embodied in that type of story. And that's why we always have the fairy tale about non-human peoples wanting to become human, for example.
Yeah, because
going into that, we're kind of talking about the stories and the researching and everything on that. Since you've had a lifelong paranormal experiences, how do you maintain your objectivity as a researcher and a writer?
Well, the low ego content definitely helps, to be honest. I just seem to naturally have that as a condition of my different brain waves. And so I don't really have to worry about that. And in fact, the biggest criticism that I have gotten from other authors, researchers, the public in the past is that I'm too objective. I'm too, quote unquote, unsure. You know what I mean?
You gotta be.
Yes. And so my own mentors and my neuroscientist team, they've been teaching me more how to appeal to a broader audience, because otherwise a lot of people find my work offensive and bland, because I say, okay, well, there's a case for this, but then there's also the case against this, and then here's my experience and here's this person's experience. And a lot of people in this society really don't like that. So I have the opposite.
I can get where people might be offended.
Yeah, especially. Especially where it comes to things like religion and spirituality, things of that nature,
And a lot
politics,
of things that you
etc.
say, though, a lot of things that you say, though, are just different terminologies. Like when you talk about tricksters, or in my from my realm, that would be the demonic, correct?
Can you say that one more time for me? I couldn't quite catch it.
I th- I like when you're talking about tricksters and stuff like that, and from my realm as a Christian, that would be more of what we would classify as the demonic, correct?
I'm so sorry,
That's
but
okay. I
you're a
gotcha.
little
Yeah.
muffled.
He said he thinks that you're talking about the same thing. Is that him as a Christian would call the trickster archetype the demonic archetype?
Oh, okay. Not quite. There is overlap, but not quite. I have actually worked with a lot of demons on cases that I've worked on the past, and I still, to this day, get visits from non-human peoples that do say that human beings call them demons. But it's not as cut and dry as good or evil, Christian or not. There's a lot of
Well,
leeway there, in my experience.
yeah. Well, there's going the Wayback Machine. Their demons weren't all good, all bad type thing. Yeah. So that the whole, the ebb and flow.
Another
People pull you in
show?
different directions.
That's
Yeah.
a whole other
So,
show, yeah.
Show, yeah.
but
Be really good
I
show.
got to get this in there. My friend Dave Harkins out of Missouri, talking about you, Artemaeus, said if you were to dye your hair jet black, you could really rock a Rush tribute band at Geddy Lee. And
Thank you very much,
Awesome. Yeah, I'm thinking that, and I would have to. You can't even see it because it's blonde and red. Me and my Irish background, but I have some of that facial hair there too. I have toyed with the idea, so maybe I would.
and he also asked, this is Dave Harkins asking specifically you, Tillie, who do you think God is?
Who do I think God is? I think that God is,
Jesus, all these.
huh?
He said he put a whole bunch in here. I'll read it word for word. But it says, Adrian, please ask her who and what she thinks God is, and what her views are on Jesus, Baba, Jehovah, and others. I'm very interested to hear her opinion.
Okay.
You got 5.
Uh,
You got 5 minutes.
Awesome. All right.
Nutshell.
Right. I personally think that God is everywhere, everything, and everyone. I think that there
I
is
believe
that,
that.
yes, that so-called divine spark in literally everything and everyone. And I think that separation is an illusion. And I think that that is seeded by the ego that people come here to experience. Regarding the religious leaders, etc., I personally don't subscribe to any of that. However, I support, cherish, and love all journeys.
Good political answer.
Well, and
Good job.
what you just said was what I was going to mention before. That the reason why people get upset with some of the things you say is because they don't get an answer. They get
Yes.
this or this or this
Yes.
or this because it could go any direction.
Correct.
So-
Yes. And in
that's
my
why people get
experience,
upset. No, it's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
No, it's okay.
He said indeed.
Okay. Yeah. I believe that all journeys are valid in their own way. And I don't judge any of them in any traditional sense. So for me, all I can say is that I do genuinely support everyone and everything. And just because I don't have a more traditional or expected experience with any of these spiritual leaders or whatever, it doesn't mean that everything someone else says is just objectively wrong. I feel like if we're looking at a coin, right, there are two sides of the same coin, right? But they meet in the middle. Where does one side begin and one end? Right. And it's blended. And that's how I experience life.
There are a lot of paths
Well,
to the same thing.
Well, a lot of people there, they get their beliefs, and I'll speak on behalf of the Christian community. We get set. This is the way it is, and they can't handle being challenged. And when they get their beliefs challenged, The only thing they know to do is attack, and then they attack under the guise of love, but
Yeah.
they do it wrong. I don't have that. I'm not one of those people. I get offended that you have a different belief than I do. That doesn't bother me. I may think you're crazy, but I keep that usually to myself. but your belief doesn't affect mine.
Good. I mean, I'm glad to hear that. I don't want
Yeah.
to harm or change anyone else's journey unless that's what they want for themselves, you know? And even though you and I might disagree passionately on certain things because we have different experiences, it doesn't mean necessarily that either one of us is wrong. Because even for me, I've had the so-called demons tell me that they will purposefully play into whatever role is assigned to them by the Catholics, by the Christians, by the religious leaders, etc., etc., and they don't take it personally at all. It's literally what they're there for, to be a mirror to human beings, and so that means you're right just as much as I am.
Yeah, and uncertainty is the enemy of an anxious persona, of a person who is used to experiencing something negative in the face of uncertainty, versus another person who might be a thrill seeker or somebody who is more on the optimistic end of that scale, where uncertainty is exciting because something good may be coming. So the people who feel threatened by something that challenges their beliefs are generally people that are, as psychologists would put it, somebody who is definitely high on the not histrionic. It's the neuroticism end of the spectrum. Which is not anything as a judgment. It just, is. There's a spectrum with everything. And so that's generally who you're dealing with when you experience that outcome. And again, something that's informed by lots of ego. So learning all of this, at least for myself as the average Joe, has definitely, and of course with my encounters with Tillie being somebody so different, has allowed me to just really chill out about, everything, because everybody's experiencing something on their own, completely different, that, it's not me, so don't take it personally.
That's so fascinating.
That great phrase. Go ahead.
The idea of mirroring back, what you project. That makes so much sense, especially when you start looking into experiences that people have, regardless of what that experience is. They're going to get out of it what they put into it.
Right.
A great saying, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, is so big.
Wow, you should coin that phrase. That's great.
I should.
Can I write that down?
It's already been coined.
You've absolutely nailed it. The gods, the goddesses that I've met and that I work with, a lot of the fairies, the demons, the so-called angels, all of them tell me that same exact thing, that non-human psychology acts as a mirror, and that often will bring out the ego essence of the human target or the human interactive party at the time. And this is wisdom that has been passed down to me for my whole lifetime, and especially when I was working with the Catholic Church, because all of the demons, the quote-unquote demons, said the same thing to me. I am here because they invited me. And they didn't invite me through, satanic ritual or anything like that. It was literally because they were living in a filthy house most of the time. They were very unkind to themselves and to others. They were extremely ego-filled and dishonest. And then they had other issues going on. A lot of the time it was a secret drug or alcohol addiction or, something destructive like that. And it all accumulates. And that is what they feed off of. And so they would tell me that the only way to truly get rid of them is for that human being to face and tame their ego and then change their entire psychology to raise up, you could say, to become closer to quote unquote God. And so now I keep that in mind, because all of these non-human peoples, they have probably about 0% ego content. And so they really are just mirrors here playing a role. And that's kind of what my book, Tales from the Rift, gets into. I explore that in several of the slightly fictionalized true tales. Yeah. And that's something also that I was kind of getting at a little bit earlier. So Artemaeus had a terrifying encounter with a very famous type of non-human person / stereotype here in this society. But when this person came to me, he was calm, cool, collected, and we talked for hours, and I learned so very much from him, and we parted as friends. So the mirror principle, I think I think that if a human being truly wants to resolve their own paranormal issues, then addressing the shadow side is the way to go. It's worked on dozens of cases that I've had. It's been the only thing that's worked. It's the only thing that all parties have been able to respect, the cases that were eventually resolved. And I've had some people, they've messaged me years later saying, thank you so much. I still live the way that I agreed upon. I've not had any issues since. And in fact, my life has only gotten phenomenally better. And too, honey, if you want to take it from here, you can share your own experience with that because you were on the same journey.
I mean, I pretty much did a lot of that talking the last time we were on
Did
when
ya?
I was on the show. Yeah, I did. And I don't know how much time we have. I forget how long this podcast is running for, so I don't
About
want
another
1
10 minutes.
hour. You got 3 minutes. You can do your life story in 3 minutes.
very. Oh,
Yeah,
life story. Oh,
just from
Lord.
the audience, for people who may not know, so that they can see some of this in action, because a lot of what I'm talking about right now is probably theoretical for most people. So I like having you as a living example, my dear, my guinea pig.
Dance monkey dance. Gotcha.
Yes.
So
I didn't hear any squeaks. Squeak, squeak,
Yeah.
squeak, squeak.
yeah, I mean, the short story is that I was born to a mother in high school and a father who ended up going into the Marines and the military. So, needless to say, both of my parents were woefully ill-equipped to handle being parents. They did the best that they could, and they're still together today, and they have done much better in their lives to improve themselves. They've come a long way, so I'll give them a lot of credit for that. But as a
Guys
result,
are growing up too.
yeah, right. Yeah. It's a journey. All of it is a continuing process. So, when I met Tillie, I was definitely not anywhere near the kind person that I like to have thought that I was. And of course, tons and tons of ego content, not very self-reflective, yada, yada, yada. And so some of the paranormal experiences that I had with Tillie, as she mentioned, with the one more popular entity that we won't be able to name, but that plus the ayahuasca experience that her and I both did, that the ayahuasca was sort of a last ditch effort for me to try to finish doing my shadow work, get over myself basically. And get over myself I absolutely did, in a very traumatic way, we'll just put it that way, which wasn't necessary, as I later came to discover, because if I had just gotten out of my own way, I could have done all of that work myself. But again, humans, it's so often, it's somebody else that has to help me. It's somebody else that has the power, the ability, all of those things. And I certainly understand. I've been there before. But it took many years of working with Tillie directly on how to do that inner work, the shadow work. People talk about Carl Jung's, philosophies and, doing your inner work, your shadow work, go to therapy, that spend some time on the couch. That's really kind of what you have to do. And it's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. It is some of the most difficult experiences I've ever encountered in my cushy little life. And that's, having a Marine for a father, if that says anything. So I wouldn't just say everybody should do this, because I don't think everybody can handle it. And there's a reason for that. It is hard work. But when you do this work yourself, what you will then put out is what you will get back. And most people don't realize that constantly they are putting out, their unprocessed childhood trauma and baggage and everything else, lack of personal responsibility out onto the world. And since the non-human entities do not have an ego, they are quite literally tools that reflect the user. Not to get too political, but this is a great example that a lot of people will understand. Gun control. People will say guns don't kill people, people kill people. Well, to some extent, it is a tool, and in the hands of one person will do one thing, and the hands of another will do something else. So
we are the weapon.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So then the NHP are just there to reflect that. So the quality of my paranormal experiences improved dramatically from the beginning of my relationship with Tillie to now. And that is entirely as a result of doing that inner work. And people think that it's, I don't know, there's something mystical about it, or I understand that we haven't been given a tool book or a toolbox, or nobody teaches us these things. There's not a course, there's not any sort of formal learning that goes on, so it can seem daunting, because everything at first, when we don't understand how to do it, is daunting and it's overwhelming, especially when it has to do with ourselves, taking that personal responsibility. But once you start to walk through it, there's plenty of resources now out there for different types of therapy. It's not any more than learning how to emotionally self-regulate and processing childhood. What you thought was a pretty good childhood, I guarantee you probably has some stuff in there that needs to be worked through, however good
I got
you think it
stuff.
was. Right.
And
And
Yeah.
it's
So,
and it's well crammed behind a wall.
yeah,
God
exactly.
help the world
Yeah,
that wall breaks.
So,
and
yeah.
not being avoidant, because every non-human person I've ever met, they hate avoidance, and avoidance is extremely common in high ego content people. And so the more avoidant someone is, the more that someone kicks that can down the road, the harsher their karma is going to be later on when that non-human person finds a way in. So for example, there have been some people
I had an encounter with a non-human,
Yeah.
and it did fundamentally change who I am.
yeah
So,
Yes,
yeah.
and so the really sweethearted people, human beings that I work with, everyone that I encounter is being watched at some point by my non-human friends and whatnot, because they're just nosy. It is what it is, and this earth doesn't belong to just anyone, right? So there are some great people by my standard that I work with behind the scenes, and they'll come out sometimes. They'll text me, or they'll call me, or they'll post on Facebook, or they'll go on to shows and say, "Hey, I know Tillie Treadwell, and I had this thing happen, and it changed my life. I met this kind of non-human person. I saw this on camera. This happened in my home, and it's changed my life for the better." But then there are some other people that I bump into who are heavily avoidant. They'll stalk my page and stuff, and they're not going to confront anything that they have to say with me to my face. And I'm told wind about this from third parties, and then I will see, like, oh, okay, they're having this other type of sudden, harsh, non-human experience that I didn't implement in any way, but it's still happening. And it has nothing really to do with me. It's because they're just mirroring back to that person what that person is pointing out. And so, with Artemaeus, that happened a lot. He was having some pretty rough encounters for about 8-9 years until he really locked into who he is now. And now he has frequent encounters, but everything he has is neutral, like, oh, hey, that object just moved, or, oh, there was a shadow person, or, hey, yeah, your mimic was here last night. But it's nothing negative. Or he'll have some really fantastic encounters.
Or I'll be
really,
at work and I'll be like,
Huh?
why I'll be at work and all of a sudden I'm like, why am I craving macaroni and cheese and pizza? And I'll text Tillie and she'll be like, oh my God, can you please bring that home? I've been thinking about it all day. So
So what you
I'll get that way sometimes too.
yeah.
So what you went through, what I'm hearing here is that you went through the mirror reflection program, as I'll call it, to learn how to deal with what yourself and how you can better reflect to attract better results. Is that kind of correct?
Was that question directed at me or Tillie?
Actually, either one of you, but
Okay.
you mostly.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Oh God, you're gonna make me try again here.
Yeah.
So you kind of went. That's okay. You kind of went through this mirror. I'll call it the mirror program, where your initial reality was you may have been a little bit more negative. I'll just use that word for lack of anything better. But you had to work through that over a long period of time to raise, and I'm thinking maybe raising your vibrational levels to get out of that mode to get better reflections back.
Yeah, Yeah, that's basically it. I changed the dial on. I make the analogy that brainwaves are like radio frequencies, essentially, because they are, and that by changing my brainwave states, which we've also learned many studies that people who have experienced a lot of trauma or abuse in their life will actually put out different brainwave states because they have measurable brain trauma as a result of it.
Right.
So when I, but simply just by existing next to Tillie and having the experience of comparison, her as a mirror, somebody who was objective, empathetic, cooperative, respectful, had integrity through and through, not just in one facet of her life, but all the way around, being with somebody who did not have all of that extra baggage like everybody else I had ever interacted with, which was just used to coping and then interacting with other people who were coping and trying to do their best, looking out for themselves. Yeah, she quite acted like the mirror to say, this is somebody who actually, in my opinion, would be one of the healthiest versions that somebody could hope to attain. And yeah, over a period of years, I was able to, and only because somewhere deep down, the experience that we had the very first night that we met in person, I knew that she was extremely significant to me on some other level that I couldn't quite explain or grasp. It was just a kind of that deep knowing that some people talk about, in relationships. And that was the entire motivation for continuing on the path, because otherwise, if she had not been somebody that I cared about, and I'm speaking very frankly about this because I feel like a lot of people can probably relate to it, if I didn't care about her on that level, there would have been no reason for me to make that change, because no consequence that I could have thought was, as a result of my actions or my behaviors. Because a lot of us will go, oh, it's not my fault, I'm a victim of circumstance, whatever it is. And in some cases, I'm sure that there are cases where that's true, but the vast majority of the time, you're putting out and getting back exactly what you're putting out. So
exactly.
that becomes a crutch.
Yeah, right. It becomes an excuse. Right. Yeah. So
you're in control of the direction you go. You go where your feet take you.
Right. So
if you walk that direction, you're gonna go there.
And so I had her influence and her, love and care for all those years. And had it not been for that, this would not have happened. So the nutshell is love is the answer. That makes people change.
I think there was a lot of osmosis going on as well.
Yeah.
So
I like it. We're gonna bring the show to the end. That love is all you need. I like that. We have we take a minute or two to tell people how they can get a hold of you guys should they want to have a deeper conversation with you. This is your time. Plug yourself.
Take it away, Tillie.
We do offer one-on-one sessions, just depending on how our schedule is, and people can email talktillie@gmail.com, and that'll hook you up with one and or both of us, depending on what your comfort level is, what your flavor of wisdom might be for the day. Aside from that, Facebook, Tillie Treadwell, it's the only verified page or creator profile on Facebook. I have been getting some imposters lately, so please make sure it is the only verified page in existence. Aside from that, I do run intermediary arts. I call myself an intermediary, and so I have intermediary arts. I offer ritual fragrances, candles, teas, and so much more. If you want to check that out, you can check out intermediary.art. That is my website. Enchanted Objects, my book, is coming out this month at some point, just waiting for it to hit the shelves. And then Enchanted Objects 2 comes out next year. My new fictional series, The Cat Knew, has a new book releasing later this month too. That is The Cat Knew Fairies. Aside from that, please stay tuned because there's much more to come. And just please remember, at least for us, it's all about love.
It is. Right on. All right. I don't want you guys to go anywhere. So don't leave us. But we're gonna kick you out of there, kick you off the show for a second. Don't take it personal. totally enjoyed the show. Fantastic.
It was really
So,
good.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
And yeah, it's one of those things that we
Always.
could go on forever, but yeah, I get mad at Ken when he makes the show go on too long. So if I let it
Poor
go
Ken.
on, then
And I'm the mirror, and I'm like, I'm doing it on purpose, Adrian.
all right. But don't go away. Thank you very much for being on the
Yeah,
show.
absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. We'll see you in a few
There you
minutes.
go. They go poof. And they go, and you're gonna go poof too. You will. I hit the button. There we go. All right. Yes. Fantastic show.
So
It
good.
was.
You could just chat with them. We
I
could have
am
like a
so
6-hour
glad
show.
you like them because I absolutely adored them on my show, and I was like, y'all have to come on to A.M.O.K. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, I
so
think I like
glad.
it.
Amazing.
Who do we got next week?
We
Dennis
have
Vincent.
Dennis
Oh.
Vincent. He
Yeah.
is a movie producer. I don't know if he acts, but I think he's a movie producer. And I met him a few weeks ago at oh my gosh, I can't think of the name of the movie now. Something about werewolves, Mark of the Werewolf. I believe that Brian, and I can't think of Brian's last name, but he's going to be on the show with him. He was the actor in the movie itself. So
Oh, cool.
we're gonna talk to him and the two of them and see what's next on their agenda.
Most excellent. See us next week. All right.
Bye.
Come
Have
back.
a great
All right.
week.
Bye, guys.
Stay
Stay
Come
A.M.O.K.
back.
Stay A.M.O.K.
Bye.